Hi, everyone. I'm Denise O'Malley. I'm the founder of You Define Wellness, and we have put together this Defining Wellness Confab to introduce you to dozens of the health and wellness experts that I know. Our theme for the Defining Wellness Confab is becoming the director of your own healthcare. And what we know is when you're stepping outside of traditional medical insurance, when you're looking for other paths to go on your path to wellness, you don't necessarily know where to start. So this confab is 48 presentations with some of the best that I know. And to introduce you to them, get a feel for what it is that they do, and if it resonates with you, this is someone for you to reach out to. And we're kicking off this morning with talking about intimacy with Karly Stein of the Intimacy Connection. And Karly, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And this is your presentation, so kick it off wherever you would like.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. All right, so today, my topic of choice that I always love to talk about is anything in relation to relationship and, of course, intimacy. To me, intimacy is the strongest piece of connection we have in relationship, and in my personal opinion, I believe that relationships are falling apart due to lack of intimacy this day and age. Intimacy, or Webster defines intimacy as a close familiarity or friendship. However, what do most people think about when we say intimacy? They go right to that three-letter word called sex, right? So it's so interesting. So in my opinion, sex is a tool for intimacy, but it does not define intimacy by any means. And let's see. And to me, intimacy kind of spells out into me, I see, right? And I'll tell you a bit about my history. So, my life is probably the best it's ever been right now. I have the closest relationship with myself. I'm learning every day and I'm open to it. However, it wasn't always this way. I grew up in a small town in the Chicago suburbs, and I was raised by a single mom and with a little help from my grandparents. I was a creative kid who, didn't really ever fit any kind of mold, as I'm sure a lot of you practitioners are. And the one thing about my childhood is that I was criticized for absolutely everything I did, whether it was good or bad. So as a result of that, I started to diminish me, put my being in this little box, and then started to take on other people's personalities because I became, started to believe that if I wasn't good enough being me, I obviously had to be someone else, right? So that took on quite an adventure in itself. I would, once I graduated high school, I went into college with no self-esteem, no self-esteem, no self-worth, nothing. And once I found my sexuality, I was using that to find, the self-love I was lacking, which brought me down some really dangerous and scary roads, actually. But reflecting now, I would go on dates at this time, and I would tell these people or these men about all my friends, about all these people I knew, because I didn't have the capacity to talk about myself, because I had started to believe that, or I had at that point fully engaged in believing that I wasn't that exciting. So it's been about 7 years now. What changed this process is I started selling sex toys actually about 7 years ago. And that's where I started learning everything about relationships, intimacy, and sexuality. And from there, I really went on a deep dive inside to discover that, well, damn, I'm the most awesome person I've ever met. And It was really my passion and intimacy coaching certification that's really what started to unravel this piece for me. In fact, I remember back when I started this process, I'd have healers tell me that my heart chakra was so closed off that they couldn't even get in and feel the energy of it. Like, that's how blocked I was. And it wasn't till last year that I was actually started to be able to feel the energy within that space in my body, which was incredible. So with that story, my biggest point in terms of intimacy is having a relationship with yourself is the crux to all of this. Because if you cannot, you can't have a true, authentic relationship with someone else if you don't have it with yourself first, because you're showing up with this facade in front of you. Okay, so that's not necessarily all what my talk is about today, but if that's something you're out there and you're kind of struggling with, going, what is this, and why am I having issues connecting with a partner? Definitely reach out to me, because it's usually this internal relationship that's stuck for you, or to prevent you from actually having that true connection with them. So that's a bit of my personal path, and that's also why I love doing this work so much, is helping people uncover what, that hidden piece, that hidden part of them that they've, through whatever circumstances, have put away so long. But let's get into the fun details of this. So here are 5 really fun, easy, simple steps you can do to create that connection in your relationship. And you'll be surprised, this is not difficult. This is actually probably something you've heard before and maybe not thought of it in this context. And actually one of them, and it doesn't really, has to do with sex. So we're gonna get rolling here. So the first one is to create a ritual or rituals in your relationship. So what does that look like? It's possibly a weekly date night. I have actually the wonderful people I live with right now, they have this amazing ritual. They got engaged pretty early in their relationship, and it wasn't, and it was kind of energetically, we feel like this is right, but the brains were like, I don't know about this, kind of a situation. So what they decided to do was every day they put their engagement rings on each other. Now this is a same-sex couple, 2 women, so they each have rings. And they choose each other every morning and put their rings on each other. What an amazing way to honor the relationship and still say, despite everything going on, I'm still choosing you today. They also, and many couples do this, have a weekly date night. Or if you have kids, maybe weekly is too hard, but maybe every other week. Or you do 2 times a month, you do like a family date activity, and then a couples date activity. But put something into your relationship that is a regular happening. I dated someone many years ago, but I stayed with him on the weekends every weekend, and every Sunday night to start our week off, we would make dinner together, and that was our ritual. And it was awesome. I always looked forward to Sunday night dinner. So that's the first step. The second is, and this one is extremely important, make having fun in your relationship a priority. Why? Because when we're having fun, the relationship's fun. Second, we are less likely to nitpick at each other and find faults when we're having fun in the relationship. So that's a huge way to connect and stay connected with your partner. Third, and this one's also really important, but a little more serious. You want to create a safe space to have the tough conversations. because the tough conversations are really what can drag the relationship down and make it unfun. But however, they're important. Like, a lot of people feel some kind of confidence in a conflict-free relationship. But the truth is, conflict is actually related to something you're passionate about. So conflict in a relationship is actually really healthy. It's just a matter of learning how to manage it. And I do have a course coming out to kind of cover this in the near future. But what do you do to create a safe space? So maybe it's a safe space in your house. Maybe you've decided that the bedroom is the place to have these conversations. Well, great. But what you have to do is you have to set up boundaries and rules. So those boundaries and rules might be, okay, no name calling. Listen to the person full out before you respond. Forgive me, I'm getting an interesting message. And just set an intention for this conversation. A lot of people will tend to focus on the problem instead of the solution. And I think the best way to focus on this is to actually get all the feelings out. Because a lot of times when we get into conflict, we won't express the feelings, we'll repress them, and then the next time we have a conflict, all those feelings that weren't felt before come back up. And that's where you get into situations where you're like, well, you did this, and you always do this. And another huge thing in terms of boundary setting and creating the safe space is never use the terms you always and you never. Because this one instance is not an always thing. And it's really important to focus on just the piece at hand and what's kind of going on and what's actually the underlying issue beyond it. So make sure you're emptying out those emotions at this time. All right, so the fourth one is, and this one might seem counterintuitive, spend time away from each other. What does that have to do with intimacy, right? So what that has to do with intimacy is the fact that when we're together all the time, we have a tendency to get bored by each other or become sick of each other. And the truth is as human beings, we need time to ourselves, especially if you're an introvert or an empath or a healer. So spend time with your friends outside your relationship. Do self-care, because the best part is you get to come back with your partner and actually talk about it, what's going on in your lives. All right, and then the fifth one, last but definitely not least, is in the bedroom or wherever you decide to have those sexual experiences, is you can slow things down a bit. I hear from a lot of people, and actually men a lot, that they have great sex, but they're missing the connection piece. Like, they don't feel as connected with their partner. So what are some things you can do to feel more connected? One is an eye gazing practice. And this is very interesting because when I learned about eye gazing and then started teaching it, it was extremely difficult for me. Like, at first I would look at someone's forehead and they thought there was like an alien on their head because it was hard for me. But as I started to learn to love myself more, it became easier to look into someone else's eyes, which is pretty incredible. So use that as a practice. So sit, legs crossed or legs over each other, and just look at each other's eyes. Because the eyes are the windows to the soul. So you're really doing a deep, soul searching there with your partner and seeing them for who they are. And you're actually having yourself and your partner feel seen, which is really important. The next thing you can do is a breathing activity, and there's several ways to do this. You can get into a similar position. You can cross hands and like put one hand on top of the other and vice versa, but opposite. And just get in unison with breathing with each other. It's a great way to ground yourselves. You can meditate together, do whatever, but it's a really good, you kind of tend to create an energetic cycle when you do that between the two of you, which is a great way to establish intimacy. And another one, and I love talking about this when I did it, I developed this idea back when I was selling sex toys 7 years ago, and that is have a research and development night. So what does that actually look like in me? So research and development is, someone lays on the bed or wherever, and you have, you touch and have a conversation about how things feel and what do you like and what do you not like. And that really creates a great place where consent is important. You're also talking about your needs, wants, and desires. And you're actually talking about what each other likes. So maybe you spend 30 minutes on one person, and then you switch and spend the next 30 minutes on the next. And of course, it doesn't have to result in climax unless you want it to. So those are my 5 simple steps to creating more intimacy in your relationship. And of course, I have a bunch more if that's something you want to explore in your relationship. Kind of in conclusion, or to kind of wrap this up, is back to the start. When, if you're feeling that disconnect in your relationship, you've got to look within, because it starts here. And then, see what's going on in your relationship is really, where it starts. That's kind of, it for me today. And I invite you to look deeper. And if you need help kind of dealing with this stuff, feel free to contact Denise to get in touch with me, or someone else. Or not someone else, me directly.
Well, thank you, Karly. That was really good. I appreciate all of that. It's great information. Now, let's talk about your practice and how you help people real quick, because we have a couple extra minutes here. So how do you work with people? And is it just men, just women, or both, or couples together separately? How do you do it?
Got it. So I actually work with singles, men and women. I tend to work with more heterosexual people than any other form. However, I'm not against, I am open to working that is just my expertise are in heterosexual relationships. And then I also work with couples, except it's in a little bit of a different capacity. I tend to, because I'm not a therapist, and a lot of people just recommend couples go to therapy, but I believe a lot of it is more education issues than deep down in, stuff. So on a couples level, I tend to educate more, or when working with a couple, we'll get on Zoom or whatnot, and we'll talk about an issue, and I'll say, okay, what can we shift in your lives to make things work better? So for example, I worked with a couple out of Virginia. They had just left the coop, so to speak, in terms of they just left hometown and were away from both of their parents with 2 little boys. So they both felt like they were adults for the first time in their life, because their parents weren't around to kind of come and take care of things when shit went awry. So what we did was they were like so exhausted because they weren't used to this lifestyle that they didn't have time for each other at the end of the day. So what we kind of did was say, okay, how can we shift your lives so he's not going from managing adults all day long to managing children all day long till he goes to bed. Where can you shift and have some alone time to recuperate between one thing to the other, so then you're not so exhausted for your wife at the end of the day? Or can we shift things to where you actually spend your intimate time together in the mornings? Like she waking up 15 minutes earlier, just so you guys can have that time to connect. So I'll go in with couples and kind of have that kind of conversation instead of the real deeper work. If there is deeper work that needs to be done with couples, I'll get them on one-on-one instead of with their partner.
Okay. So you said you do this through Zoom. So can you work with anyone, anywhere in the world?
I sure can.
Awesome. That's a pretty cool thing. So, um, what are some last thoughts that you want to share about your business before we move into the next segment here?
Well, thank you. So my business is in a bit of transition right now. I just rebranded as the Intimacy Connection, and I'm actually focusing on getting some online courses up so we can reach even more people.
Okay.
So that's kind of in the process and what's coming up for the end of this year and next year. I also do a lot of public speaking and am happy to travel for that. And I love working with people one-on-one and seeing the transformation process. Additionally, for women in particular, I do an annual retreat helping them step into their feminine power, and it's called Goddess Awakened, Ignite the Power Within, and that happens, it's happening September 13th through the 15th this year.
Yay. And how do people sign up for that?
You can visit www.karlystein.com, and then there's a link right there for Goddess Awakened.
That is awesome. So this is the point where I get to talk about you are a part of the You Define Wellness Network.
Yes,
And what that means
first month.
Pardon me?
I said, yeah, from like the first month.
Yeah, actually, 3.5 years ago is when we launched.
Yeah.
And for those who are unfamiliar with You Define Wellness, let me explain what it is. We are a network of health and wellness professionals from all across the United States. We have hundreds in our network, and we are growing by leaps and bounds. And we have a provider directory online, and whether or not you are a client of ours, you are welcome to go over to youdefinewellness.com and find a health and wellness provider there. And one of the reasons why I encourage you to do this is because our listing of health and wellness professionals have gone through a background check. We do a criminal background investigation. We look at their licenses and see if there are any disciplinary actions or stipulations against them. We are looking to make sure that they are a legal business. And most importantly, we're looking at their reputation. And while our being on our list should not be the end all be all in your decision-making process when you are choosing a caregiver, you know that at least we've looked at them, as opposed to some other list out there like Yelp that you have no idea anything about them. So you've got that confidence that we have looked at them. And with a network of health and wellness professionals, we can actually do a few things, like create an employee benefit plan for the marketplace so that you can access people like Karly, which you can't do on traditional medical insurance. And not just her, but we have 130 other modalities, different types of services ranging from massage and acupuncture and chiropractor to coaching, counseling, you name it, we probably have it on there. So if you are in charge of employee benefits at your company, or if you are an employee of a company and you want something like this, hey, contact us, let your HR manager know about us as well. And with a network, we're also able to put together an education catalog. These are people like Karly who have put together a program that is available for presentation in the workplace. So great for a lunch and learn, or maybe an association meeting, or a community group, or even a school. We have tons of topics in there, and you can find your educators in our catalog. You can download it for free on our website. And then we had a lot of individuals who came to us and said, I want to play. I love what you're creating. And so we created something for them. And so for individuals, retirees, self-employed, or those not on our employee benefit program, we are launching this month our Healthy Living Savings Card. This is a discount card. And when you present it to one of the providers in our network who accepts it, you will receive a discount on their products and services. And you can go as many times in a month as you want. You can share it with your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, anyone that you wish. Whoever presents that card gets the discount. And it is a one-time fee. It never expires. We never charge you again. And the one-time fee is $99. But through the end of this month, it's half price at $49.50. So we sincerely encourage you to get it now. And you know what? The holidays are going to be coming up before you know it. Buy a couple for friends and family as gifts. And you can find out more on our website at youdefinewellness.com. And the last thing I want to point out to you is while you're on our website, go over and take a look at what we're doing in the community. Our providers have heart, and they want to give back to the community, and they are doing so with something we are creating called the Holistic Healing Workplace Crisis Support Team. It's a lot of words, but what it is we can go into the workplace after a crisis. And after a crisis, the employers are told to bring in the counselors and the psychotherapists, and that's great, but it's not enough, because what we know is that trauma will reside in the body. And if left untended, it will manifest days, weeks, months, or even years down the road. And so we can bring in a team of healers to help the employees find their way as to what they want to do. We are spinning this off as a nonprofit, and everything like that needs funding. So we are accepting donations to it, and our PayPal link is there at paypal.me/YouDefineWellness. And we did a video about this, and it's on our YouTube channel, and we encourage you to go over to our video and take a look at it. And last, but by all no means least, is Karly's contact information. Easy for me to say. Her phone number and her website. We encourage you to go out over there and reach out to her if you feel that this is exactly who you need to be talking to, and you want to see if it's going to be a fit for you guys working together. So, Karly, that being said, thank you so much for doing this. This was fantastic. I know I appreciate it. And for those who are watching either live or as a recording, we thank you as well. And we encourage you to go over to our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and youtube.com, put You Define Wellness in the search bar, and you will find our channel. And while you're there, follow us so that you can get notifications. But we have all 48 presentations from the Defining Wellness Confab that are being uploaded, plus a whole bunch of other content as well. And it's a great way for you to find people to help you as you are becoming the director of your own healthcare. With that being said, thank you all again, and I hope to see you on another recording.